Welcome, everyone, to the inaugural podcast of Wrestling with Our Faith. I am Chris, and I am here with my co-host, Josh. How you doing today, Josh?
I'm doing pretty good.
Awesome. How was your day today?
A little tiresome, but not too bad. It's a nice rainy day, so
That it was. It rained all day, and it's cold, and I'm glad I spent all day inside. It has been an exhausting day for me, getting everything ready for our first podcast today. You never know how much work goes into these until you start to do one, and then you just run around like a chicken with your head cut off, just going, where has the time gone? I thought I was prepared. So I am extremely excited to finally start this podcast. I know we've been talking about it for several weeks now, and we've been getting things together and getting things ready, and I know I've been excited, and you've been excited just from our conversation, so I'm ready to get into it. So the first thing that I want to do is just to kind of get to know each one of us, so the listeners can kind of know who we are and where we're coming from and that type of stuff. So I guess, just tell us a little bit about yourself, Josh. How old are you? Where are you at in life? That type of stuff.
social security number.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Credit card numbers. I mean, just make sure. Let me get my pen real quick and write those down.
Mother's maiden name.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I am 22. I'm a student at Rochester University. Is that too much information?
No, not at all.
Yeah. I'm studying right now Christian ministry and accounting. So, long run, I'm going to do Christian ministry as my hobby. What do I enjoy? And then accounting to pay for my hobby.
Right. So, what got you into accounting and Christian ministry?
Yeah, so the school that I went to, or the Rochester, when I chose them, I had looked around at a couple different options. I looked at Olivet Nazarene University. I liked that a lot. So many were just so expensive. I got into accounting. I had a business management. I was going for business management.
Okay.
Took my first accounting class and said, yeah, I'm going to start doing this one. This is a lot more fun. The numbers, it just made sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing two majors anyways, and I switched to that. And then Christian ministry, I've always felt like there's been a call. Not sure where exactly that call is, where I'm directed to go, but understanding who God is more, that really fits the bill. So
Absolutely. All right. So, what kind of activities do you like to do?
As of right now, drink coffee. I think that's
Which is good because you run the coffee club college ministry at our church.
yes, yeah. We named it Coffee Club because it's just something that you can do with anybody. It's something that you can sit at a table with. It's open communication, good community. Coffee Club just fits the description of how we want to be and how our ministry leads. But yeah. So hobbies: drinking coffee, homework, if that's a hobby.
I've been there before. I understand.
Oh man. Yeah.
All right. I mean, is there anything else you want to tell us about yourself?
I think that's it. I think I'm all set.
Okay. I mean, that's a good start. I mean, I'm sure as we continue to go along, our listeners will be able to get to know each of us more and more as we continue to do this, just opening ourselves up, opening our hearts, just talking. They'll get to see who we are,
Yeah.
and what we're passionate about, and where God's leading us in our lives. So, I guess let's get to know me. So,
Absolutely. Social security number, age, credit card information, mother's maiden name.
So, social security number is.
That's
Okay,
it.
I hope you guys got that.
Yeah, that's it.
So I am 40 this year. That was fun, and
I can't tell.
I don't feel 40. I will say that. I still feel like I'm in my late 20s. My body doesn't feel like I'm in my late 20s. I creak and ache all the time. But mentally, I still feel like I don't know where all the time has gone. It's been crazy. I'm like, I can't believe I'm 40 already.
Yeah.
Like, I've been out of high school for 22 years now. I mean,
That's how old I am.
I
so.
know. So, like, you literally could be my child. But, yeah, so 22. Right now, I'm the administration pastor at our church, Rochester Nazarene, and it's it's been good. I kind of do a lot of different things. The administration is this one part, but I also run sound, do videos, uh, just all, basically, if you can name what needs to be done at our church, I probably have my hand in it in some form or another.
Yeah.
And I'm currently taking ministry classes. I have a district license right now, going towards ordination. So one day I'll plan to be ordained, and so that's where I'm at with that. I also went to Oakland University, go Grizz, and got my psychology degree there. And then once I got out of college, I was a suicide prevention counselor for about 3 years, and that was a very rewarding but very stressful job. If you've never done it or anything close, it's definitely not a job that anybody can do, and just being constantly around in people's despair and hopelessness, and helping them to want to continue to go on with life, and finding resources to help them get the help that they need, and that type of stuff. It wears on you, and but again, it's extremely rewarding when you go into a call knowing that somebody is ready just to end their life, and then when you end the call, you know that they have found hope to continue moving on, and they're going to get the help that they need to continue doing that.
Absolutely. Would you
Mhm.
say that those experiences, the work that you did, led to this podcast in any way?
Um, I'm sure it has. I mean, there's a lot of things going in that job that has had me, wrestle with my own faith, and just to not question my faith. I've never not believed in God because of that, but just question my beliefs, and just not taking things at face value.
Yeah.
It forces me to dig in deeper, to look at things at a much more deeper level, and find out, what does God really say? What has God called us to, and those types of things. I just don't want to live a Christianity where I'm taking those things for granted just because somebody told me that this is what it means, or this is what I'm supposed to do. I want to find that stuff for myself and experience that, and have God show me those things in my own life and teach me that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I know that your time is usually spent here.
Yes.
With the free time that you do have, if it exists somewhere, what hobbies do you fill them with?
I do like to watch movies. I am a A-list member at AMC. So if people who don't know that, it means I pay a monthly subscription. I can watch 3 movies a week for free with that subscription, and I fill them up pretty quickly. I mean, it's been rough with the pandemic because I haven't been able to use it, and now that theaters are back open, there's really no movies out yet. So it's been hard to go, but I can't wait for the movie industry to get back up and running so I can start seeing some more movies again. And so with that, I mean, I enjoy doing that. I like watching sports, big in fantasy football. We have a church league. I'm in first place. And I talk a lot of smack. And to the point where I've called my shot saying I'm going to win this year.
Oh man.
And I did the same thing last year and won. So I am, I talk a lot of smack, and there are some people who love to talk it back, and it's fun to just have that banter with
Back
people
and
back
forth.
and forth. Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard recently, because I didn't even know that the theaters had opened back up.
Mhm.
I didn't know about that. But I have heard that with the several movies that have opened up over the pandemic that they've put on Disney Plus, different subscription sites that you can get,
Mhm.
that it's supposed to possibly renovate and change the entire movie-going experience.
I think there's going to be some of that. Yeah. I don't know if everything's going to come out to a movie theater from now on.
Yeah.
It may go straight to different types of streaming services. So we'll have to see. Me personally, though, nothing beats going and seeing something in a theater, especially like the AMC's Dolby Theater if you haven't experienced that yet, the massive screen, the just ridiculous sound. I mean, you feel immersed in the movie.
Yeah, yeah,
And there's no way you can ever replicate that at your home.
I agree.
So for me, going to a theater and watching a movie is always going to be the best experience possible.
Absolutely. Yeah. I still remember IMAX. It was Avatar.
Mm.
That was the moment that I was like, wow, movies. I'm all in. That was pretty good. I think that's about it. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us about who you are?
I think that's pretty good for right now.
Alright.
Like I say, I think people will get to know me and you as we
Yeah.
go on. As we talk about topics, things are always going to come up. As we are just going about life and sharing things in our other platforms that we have, people always get another chance to get to know us more there as well. So, man, if anyone has any questions for us at any point, man, send them to us. You know, we'd love to just let you know more about who we are and what we like to do and that type of stuff. You know, it's when you get put on the spot. We tried to prepare for this, but you know how that goes. You get on the spot. I'm not used to talking, and which is an interesting thing because in a thing where I'm doing a podcast now, and I don't really like to talk. And I was a suicide prevention counselor, and I don't like to talk. And it's just funny how God puts me in places where I don't like to be, and it's just He really stretches me and grows me. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be fun. That's for sure. So I want to talk about what this podcast is going to be, who it's for. For me, I would say that this podcast is something that we're going to talk about. It's not going to be your typical Christian church type podcast. We're really going to explore the topics and areas that people wrestle with, that we struggle with to put together. Like, why does God say certain things and have us or call us to do certain things and live our life a certain way, and how does our faith interact with society and those types of things. And excuse me. So it's really going to explore those types of areas. I know that, and even for the people who don't believe, it's something that, because those people, they wrestle with faith as well. Why do people believe in faith? Why do people, Christians act the way that they do and do the things that they do, and how can they reconcile how they feel that their actions don't mesh with society or scrutinize people or that types of stuff. So I really want to explore those types of topics so we can all just get a better understanding of what faith is, what has God truly called us to, what does Christianity truly look like? Because I feel that a lot of people, they just fall into what other people tell them. And there's nothing wrong with hearing what other people have to say, because God is going to use people to speak into your life. But helping listeners see how we are digging deeper, the ways that we're digging deeper, and finding out what God truly says about the topics in our life.
Not becoming complacent in traditional views and saying, yep, I've heard that, and that's what I was taught. Makes sense. We'll go with it. Spend the rest of my life with that. We're really looking at the gray areas and saying, hey,
Exactly.
you know, if something's there that we need
Mhm.
to talk about, something that we have to discuss. But what I first thought of when you talked to me about this podcast, the podcast is for me, it is a platform for myself, to go over the struggles that I have, things that
Mhm.
I need to figure out.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting because I feel like when you watch podcasts, you see people say things. They have everything listed out. They're trying to say, this is where I'm at. This is how I feel. Where I am very willing and ready to be convinced of something else. I mean, I'll fight it, but I'd like to dig a little deeper into everything.
Mhm. I remember when we were talking about it, you had mentioned that your concern was that you didn't feel that you were an expert.
Yeah.
And I feel that that's okay. Like, I don't think any of us are experts, and that's the whole point of this, is to wrestle with these topics, because none of us are experts in living out our faith. It's something that some people are stronger in some areas over others, but it's something that we can explore together, wrestle around with these ideas, and just come to a better understanding of what God is calling us for in those areas.
Yeah. And who is this podcast for? I mean, obviously, the listeners, the people that are listening, but I would also say for myself and I think for you, it's a nice platform because we have been, I mean, talking about these things and trying to figure out what's going on. Not even on a platform, just between you and myself, and
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's just basically this podcast has been born out of conversations that we've had, that we were just explored and just had some really good conversations. And I just, was thinking about it one day and was just like, man, this would be really good just to share, to have other people listen to, give feedback to, let us know how they feel about it. And because they're not just your everyday topics that you hear about in church circles.
right,
It's the fringe stuff. It's the things that sometimes people don't even think about, or the things that people take for granted, or it's those types of things. It's just it's a different way of looking at it. We're not. I know both of us. We don't just have a specific point of view that we're always coming from. We may have an opinion about it, but we're both always open to listening to a different perspective and point of view, and helping that shape what God, how that interacts with our faith, and how God is reconciling that with what He says,
absolutely.
and not just, like I say, not just blindly going into things. I feel that far too often as Christians we don't fully understand what God is saying. We have a very surface level view of things, but we don't know at in the depth what God is truly saying in those things.
I think that's comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I think when we get to that spot where we stop digging, where we stop going deeper into the deep, wherever that is, I think we've gotten complacent. We've gotten comfortable with where we're at, the lifestyle that we live, and we lose interest in letting God change how we view things.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I say, man, I think this podcast is for everyone. It's just not for the believer. It's just not for people who are deep in their faith. It's for people who are brand new to their faith. It's for people who are deep in their faith. It's for people who don't believe, whether they're spiritual, but they don't know if it's God that they believe in, but they believe in some higher power, or if they don't believe in any deity at all. Like, I think this podcast is for all those people, because we're going to explore those topics, and we're going to look at perspectives from people who don't believe.
Yeah.
And why don't they believe, and how has Christianity played a role in them not believing?
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that we play a role in why people don't believe, especially as we've gone on throughout history. We've done some damage to society, and I'm not one of those people who are just going to just fill you with rainbows and sunshine, that the church has always done everything right, and we've done damage in our as a global church, and just the church in our communities, and as individuals in the lives of non-believers that we've come across. I just remember that I had, when I was going to Oakland, which is just down the street from our church, that there were some people who had gone to Oakland and came and visited our church. Never knew them, never saw them before, but they were just talking to some people at our church, and they had seen me on campus, and they had said that I was somebody who lived out my life, just without anyone noticing. And that was something that really, struck me, because it's like, I'm like, well, good. Like, I'm glad that people are seeing me live out a godly life.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are times that I failed in that.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't claim to be perfect, and I know you probably don't either.
Me? Come on.
But I'm. Yeah, but my goal is to strive every day, moving closer and closer to who God has created me to be,
yeah.
and just getting there little by little, step by step, every day.
I mean, bottom line, you and I are gonna have a view on several different things, and we both go by the title Christian.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm going to school right now for Christian ministry, trying to figure out where that's at.
Right.
Although I know that you and I have definitely had things that we've talked about that we've disagreed on, but
Mhm.
we've been able to talk about it, go through it. So yeah, I do like the fact that this podcast isn't just meant for a traditional viewpoint. It's looking to change how Christians approach their life, but also how other people view Christians and how people can live alongside and appreciate. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I don't think Christianity is something that we're trying to do. I think if you're trying to do Christianity, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's something that should just flow out of you. The more you fill yourself with Jesus, the more he just pours out of you. And you don't really have to do anything
Mm-hmm.
because he's just doing it through you. Like you're just doing things without even thinking about it because he's coming in and doing them through you. And it's just learning how to know Jesus more intimately.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of times like I say, we're going to come across topics that don't sit well with us.
Yeah.
And God's going to really push us. And it's just wrestling with those types of things in our life and finding out what God really wants and how
Mhm.
we can get deeper into him.
Absolutely. Ooh. So if I could ask you another question
Oh, absolutely.
that I don't have written down here, it just came to the top
This
of
is
my
a
mind.
free-for-all today.
Yeah.
We don't have much of a plan. We have a show sheet, but this is our first episode, so we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants on this one.
Absolutely. What would you hope to accomplish with this podcast? I mean, we talked about who is it for, the reason why we kind of got into it.
Mm-hmm.
The end game, we get one show out after this one. We say one thing, and we end it there, and people look at it. What have we hoped was accomplished?
That that we are able to help people wrestle with and come to an understanding on things that they struggle with in their faith.
Mm-hmm.
That they can come to a better understanding, that they can learn how to come to a better understanding of those things in life, that we can show them how to get to those places.
That's a very passionate thing that I feel like you just said, and I'm with it 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this is a little less traditional than what we've kind of grown up with, what we've experienced. But the idea that you can go into the church and you can move through things, and in some instances you're taught not to doubt or not to speak of doubt, not to ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that is one of the most that is the biggest disservice to people that are trying to look at the faith and say, okay, I want to see what you're about. I want to get into it. There are things that I need to know, things that I have questions about. And it's, for some people, it's black and white. This is how it is. This is how it's going to be. If you don't agree with it or you're not with it, I mean, you either got to get over it or you got to find somewhere else to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that for me, this podcast, I would hope could accomplish for some people. I would like to bring about actually discussing things,
Mm-hmm.
and not just saying, okay, this is how it is, push it to the side.
Right. I agree. I know a mentor of mine. I heard him talking to another person, and they were talking about how they were really struggling in their faith, and they were just questioning a lot of things and all that type of stuff, and they were kind of like asking him what they should do and all that, and he's just like, well, that's good because it just means that you're growing.
Mm-hmm.
Like God is stretching you, and it's uncomfortable, so you're struggling with it. But that means that you're able to, if you stick with it, if you continue to seek after God, He's going to help walk you through it, and you're going to grow in your faith because of that.
Absolutely.
So wrestling with your faith is it's a good thing. Questioning things is a good thing. It just means that God is working on you in your life, and He's taking you out of your comfort zone. 'Cause I think too often Christians want to stay in their comfort zone.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's easy. They don't have to do anything. They can just show up on Sunday. They know when to stand up. They know when to sit down. They know what words to sing in the worship songs. They know when to say amen in the sermons. But they never grow. They're the same spot they are now as they were 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And I mean, if I'm in the same spot spiritually that I was 6 months ago, I'm wondering, like, what's going on? Like, I couldn't imagine being in the same spot for 10, 15, 20, 30 years
Yeah.
and just never growing. Like, if I get to that point, like, what am I doing? Why am I here? Like, obviously, Christianity at that point isn't something that I'm willing to explore. Like, getting to know Jesus isn't something that I'm willing to do, because you can't get to know Jesus and not be stretched.
It becomes a job rather than a passion.
Yeah, it's like doing laundry. It's something that I do, get up and do every week.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't imagine living my life like that.
Mm.
So I say, man, struggling is a good thing in your faith. Not to the point where you start doubting why why am I a believer?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I never struggle with that. Like, I firmly believe God is God, and there's nothing that's going to shake that again in my life. I was at a point in my life where that did happen, and but now I'm to a point, like, there's nothing that can come along in life that's going to shake me from that. It's because I've been able to be stretched and be grown to a point where that's just not going to happen anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can help other people get to those types of same spots, that we can show them how to wrestle with their faith, that we can show them how to grow and continually just move forward in their faith, that we can continue to get those people to a point where they're never going to walk away either.
Right. Yeah.
That other people are going to see them and want to become, a Christian. They're going to want to know Jesus because that's who they see in these people all the time.
That I mean, you know my story. You know how I got to where I'm at right now.
Mm-hmm.
With past problems, relationships, kind of losing my identity in that relationship, struggling with finding my way back to God, finding out the calling. Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's important to rebuild
Mm-hmm.
things that have been destroyed. And I hope that that's what this podcast can do.
Right. I mean, say, even for me, like, when I walked away from my faith in my early 20s, it was because of something that happened in the church. I mean, there were people in the church who just were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because they were just set in their ways. They thought that because they were in leadership that they just knew what was right and were unwilling to listen to the wisdom of others.
Yeah.
And because of that, basically they destroyed an entire church. And I was a casualty of that.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily, I was able to find my way back to the faith. And I could just see, looking back, that God was always there, walking beside me the entire way.
Mm-hmm.
He never left me. He always kept, urging me back, just kind of nudging me in that direction, to the point where I made that decision, like, okay, I'm back, and I'm back for good at this time.
Yeah.
And because I did see that, I saw that even through all that craziness, like, God never left me.
Right.
He was always who He said He was, and I think I saw that in a more real way than I had ever seen that before in my life. So real that, like I say, it's not something that I can ever walk back from at this point.
Yeah.
It's too real for me. Like, I can't ever say that the sun doesn't exist. It's too real for me. I see it come up every day,
Mm-hmm.
And it's similar with my walk with Jesus. Like, I've experienced Jesus in such a way that He's so real that I could never walk away from that. Like, I would have to deny, like, the existence of reality to walk away at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, let's see. I think that's about all we wanted to accomplish for the most part today. We're going to be a little shorter today. I know we're looking to go about an hour each week, talking about different topics. And next week will definitely be a big week. If everyone doesn't know what next week is, it is Election Day. And if there is ever a topic that is more polarizing in the church today, it is politics. And we are going to break the cardinal rule. They say never talk about church and politics, and we're going to talk about them both in the same day. So it is definitely going to be an exciting topic, but it's going to be different. We're not going to be talking about the same old political nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be talking about practical ways of how does our faith intersect with politics and those types of things. We're going to have probably several different topics, subtopics within that major topic that we're going to talk about and just explore and all that. And then, so we're going to be doing that at 6 p.m. Next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, we will be going live on Twitch if anyone wants to see us live, see our faces. If you're just listening to us on a podcast network and want to see the two greatest heads of hair in all of podcast radio, you can come and join us on Twitch and see this wonderfulness. And and then after that, at 8 o'clock, we will be having our special election coverage, where we'll be talking a little bit more politics at that point, and just, but not too deep politics, but kind of just looking at what is happening on this election night and what that might mean for us as Christians moving forward, what types of different struggles we may run into, or that type of stuff. So I'm excited for that. That'll be fun and exciting, and it's going to be a crazy night. And there's nobody can tell you what to expect at this point on that night. It's going to be a whole lot of craziness, and that's going to be a part of the fun of it.
I don't know if there's been a night that I've been so excited for and so scared for.
Exactly. And I guess the biggest thing that scares me out of all of it is how other Christians are going to react if they don't get their way.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's something that just, because I've seen a lot of Christians, people who call themselves Christians, who act very non-Christ-like when they start talking politics.
Yeah.
And it just, and I say we'll get into this more next week. I don't want to spoil any of our conversation, but it is, it just, I'm probably going to have some harsh words for some people who are believers next week.
Please, we love them.
I mean, I do love them, and the thing is, like, they're going to be harsh words is because I love them, and what I see is it's causing them to walk further away from Jesus, and I don't want to see that happening.
What I meant was, please share them. I love your harsh words.
Oh, don't you worry. I will ask the good Lord to help tame my tongue and keep me from saying anything that I shouldn't say, but speak harshly in love.
Yeah.
So beyond that, I want to talk about our social media. We have tons of social media. So like I said, we are on Twitch that we will be streaming on starting next week every Tuesday at 6 p.m. So you can catch us there. I will also put up the links here for you guys to look at on this video. Hang on real quick. And so despite it being on Twitch, we are also will be on YouTube. So if you did not catch our Twitch stream, you can always go on to YouTube. It'll probably be up shortly after our Twitch stream ends, within about an hour or so, depending on how crazy things are once we finish. So you can catch us on YouTube. Like I say, you can always catch our past videos up on YouTube as well. And we are on Instagram, we are on Twitter, and the links are there on the screen right now, so you can just follow us there. And following us helps us show us support to know that you guys are listening, that you guys are supporting us. It's an avenue for you guys to be able to share your opinions with us and share with us things that you struggle with that you would like us to talk about, because things that I struggle with and things that Josh struggles with aren't necessarily always going to be the things that you guys are struggling with. And if there's an area that you're struggling with that we have a good handle on, that we can help share wisdom in, that's another part of our a podcast that part of this podcast, that we can do that and help you guys advance through the things that you're wrestling with in your own faith. And then lastly, we are also on Patreon, and this is another way that you can help show us our support for this channel, for what we do. We have a couple different levels of support that you have there, and they're listed out, and they explain what each and every one of them does. And if you feel generous and you want to be able to help support us on Patreon, that would be a huge blessing to us. One, we have a pretty pedestrian setup here in our mock studio in the church right now, which isn't much of a studio, and but we're doing the best with what we have, and that would help us to make some upgrades and to be able to help bring you guys a better product. So I'm gonna say, if you feel gracious enough and want to support us there, we both would greatly appreciate that. So is there anything else, Josh, you have before we sign off here?
Not that I'm aware of. Just be kind to one another.
Yeah, be kind to one another. Continue seeking after Jesus. I think it's something that we all need to be doing. Reading our Bibles, just praying. Even if you're not a believer and you struggle with the idea of faith, but it's something that you just can't let go of, that you can't let go of the idea of faith, that you're struggling with it. Ask God to just, reveal himself to you. Say, hey, God, I don't believe in you. But if you're real, I ask that you would just reveal yourself to me. I know people who have done that, and God has shown himself in mighty ways, but you have to be open to hearing. You can't just say, well, I asked God, but be completely closed off to the idea of him speaking to you. You have to be open to have him reveal himself in your life.
And if you're not, this is an excellent platform for you to ask us. Odds are the things that you are struggling with, like you said, we're not, or we
Right.
don't even know that we are struggling with it.
True.
I'm not going to be one to say that I've said this once, I know all things. So I'm open to the idea that there is something out there that I need to work on for myself. So yeah.
Right. And like I say, hearing the perspective of non-believers too is very important. And like I say, we both come from a religious background. I know Josh has grown up in the church his whole life, and for minus a brief 7-8 year period, I did as well. So our perspective is a little bit different than somebody who may not be a believer, who never grew up in the church. So we definitely want to hear those perspectives and questions from you, because one, that's going to help even us grow in our faith and help other believers grow in our faith, is we're able to understand everyone that we come in contact with, if it's believer or non-believer. I feel that it's extremely important that we're understanding the perspective of everyone. And I believe that's what God talks about when he talks about patience, is that we're willing to stop and hear the perspective and take it to heart of the people that we're in the midst of dealing with. And when we do that, God's able to work in the midst of that. So like I say, just we'd love to hear from you. I can't wait till next week when we have a great topic about a great conversation about a great topic. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be challenging. It's gonna be exciting. We're gonna have some fun with it, and then who knows? The week after, we may just have a fallout week and talk about some of the things that were the fallout and other questions people may have had from what we talked about, what we're going to talk about next week. So can't wait for it. All right. So we will talk to you guys next Tuesday at 6 p.m. You can catch us live on Twitch, or you can catch us afterward on YouTube or other podcast platforms. We don't know. I don't know exactly which ones we'll be on yet. I will find out probably later tonight exactly which ones we'll be able to broadcast on. So, but we will list those on our different social media pages, so you guys know where you can catch our podcast and listen to it if you're in the car or whatever. So, look forward to it. Keep seeking after Jesus. Can't wait to talk to you guys. See you next week. Bye.